So hello everybody. I have a very interesting guest today, founder of the most ambitious project in last few years in European Union. Christos, can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mikhail. I don't know if we're the most ambitious project in Europe out of the last few
One
years.
of the most ambitious for sure. Yeah.
We're certainly trying to do something big. We're trying to compete with big tech in creating a social media platform that could actually support a new generation of connecting with each other online. Obviously, the project started much like many projects that have started to spring up these days from a sovereignty perspective and from a recognition of how democracy is shaped and how our societies are shaped in social digital spaces. But once you start going into this process, and I'm sure we'll talk about it later, you learn that in order to find the financing to be able to structure the organizing of that effort, you need to make a more compelling case, unfortunately, than simply the defense of our societies and the defense of our democracies.
Hmm.
Business case. And you need to prove that you can create a consumer product that people can embrace um, through habit, even if the ultimate goal is to encourage people and enable them to have better social connections online.
Hmm. So tell me about the idea, how it did emerge. I imagine it didn't jump, like Zeus, Athena out of your head, like fully mastered, and here I come. So it was kind of boiling in you for some time. So tell us a little bit how it happened, where it started, where you're coming from. And I know that you are an architect, so not, immediately someone who's associated with IT.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, from a very young age, I grew up believing, maybe naively, that all of us had as a responsibility and as a privilege to contribute to the world around us and to society around us.
Who did instill this, way of seeing yourself? Was it your parents or someone in your family or teachers, or it just happened because it's your genes?
I think it was the environment that I grew up in. I
Okay.
grew up in Luxembourg in a very international environment, wherein and where the very foundations of the vision for the European Union were being set. And back then, um, the so-called European Eurocrats were less bureaucrats and more people who were really convinced of this idea of a united Europe, um, who were coming here to build it. And so, in parallel that, like this ecosystem, then everything that was happening in the world in the 90s. I think we both remember the 90s. There was a spirit of hope. Um, I'm not going to get into the politics of neoliberalism that was also
Mm.
rising in the 80s and the 90s, but the whole environment was one of hope and contributing to a world that was promised to be more peaceful, unlike the environment that we see today. So that's kind of the background. And then uh, I grew up always having that question in my head of what can I do to contribute, which is actually the very reason why I became an architect, as you mentioned. I saw my city expand during my youth, and I wanted to be able to be uh, informed and be able to contribute to that expansion. Then, unfortunately, alluding to the previous conversation we had before we started recording, I realized that in order to grow messages and to get people behind ideas, you need to be very visible. And I always liked performing and acting, so I went down that route and I went to entertainment, marketing, and I ended up working in social media analytics and tech while also being involved in politics. And I guess at some point, I, I realized that the best way to contribute is not to wait um, for the world to give you a sign. The sign is already the one you have seen, and you need to find your way, much like you're doing, to contribute. And I was touring the United States. I was actually touring American military bases in 2024, in late 2024, as part of the NATO program. And all of the American personnel kept telling us how important information resilience is and communication channels during warfare. They were placing the ability of a society to communicate with each other as the number one way of describing whether the country is resilient or not to an attack in this day and age. And we were all agreeing, all these young, politically active Europeans that had been invited to do this tour, we were all agreeing that Europe needs its own social media networks. Obviously, with kind of a decade now behind us, having seen everything from Cambridge Analytica to Brexit to Trump, and
Hmm.
seen how these social media that originally, um, you know, kind of made viral the best of ourselves have ended up making viral the worst of ourselves. So we went from media that used to reward us with what we were supporting to social media algorithms that reward us for whatever polarizes the most because that's what keeps us hooked and engaged. And we're talking about how we need European social media in Europe. And I said, okay, I'll build it. So I have the privilege and the
So
burden.
NATO made it happen. Really. It's a good story.
Honestly, it's quote unquote further away than that. It was actually the Americans. I mean, the State Department brought us together, right? It was the International Visitor Leadership Program that I attended with this incredible cohort. Um, and then we saw the election of Donald Trump happen, and we saw Elon Musk very publicly touting that he had bought this election for Donald Trump. He was giving away money on Twitter, like, "Hey, vote for Trump, and I'll give you away money." I mean, it was incredible what's happening. Um, so in early January 2025, I made that commitment that I was going to try and make that happen. I was working for 2 years for a social media analytics company, so I was acutely aware of social media usage and the priorities of so-called users in social media. Um, but the last year has been an effort and a learning curve in understanding the market and understanding that, hey, unfortunately, um, uh, you know, organizing society is much more challenging, as I think the left is acutely aware of, right? Organizing is very, very difficult. So you need to work with the tools that you have, and these tools right now are the market. Um, and so, how do you present to the market a business model that it feels comfortable backing, while at the same time having a business operation that wants to support society, democracy, and have a positive impact on who we are. So yeah, it's been a big challenge to try and structure a company, to try to find the right people who, most of us are working for nothing, even a year later, to try and build this up, build it from the scratch. But it's also been an amazing learning curve. I mean, getting the opportunity to meet other builders, like the founders of Mastodon, the founders of Eurosky, the founders of Matrix, now the founder of W Social and Outsider. Um, it's been a beautiful experience, a lot of learnings, a lot of sacrifices as well. But at this point, we need to learn how to work with each other, all of us, to ensure that the mission remains more important than any individual success.
Hmm, okay. So tell me a little bit about the media landscape in European Union, basically, or primarily, because it looks like primarily it should be for the Europeans, this platform that you are building with your colleagues. So, how were the other media partners or co-partners, or how to put it, reacting to a new Christos, someone new? Is it supportive, or rather, the other way around, or what are you experienced?
I've only felt support. I mean, we're a small team with limited resources, so I haven't been able to reach, or haven't really tried to reach, all the media organizations in Europe, because your question is very broad, right?
No, that it's two layers. No, it's like how you see it and then how you experience it. That are different kind of ways how it's done.
I think to talk about a media landscape in Europe is already misleading, because there is no media landscape in Europe in reality. We
Well, a
have
little bit. It's not totally American slash Chinese,
No, no,
but
no, exactly. What I mean is, no, 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 yeah, I don't mean that. What I mean is that in Europe we have multiple media, but they're not, I wouldn't consider them European. I would say there is
okay. Yeah.
yeah, Bulgarian media and Romanian media and German media and French media, etc. in Europe. There's very few European media, and those that do exist are not really broadly consumed, which also means they don't actually uh, reach the average European. Ergo, it doesn't actually contribute to a European media landscape. Um, you could argue that Alex Springer's Political is, a European, obviously a European outlet, but does the average person in Romania, Greece, or France read political.eu? No.
Mm.
Does the average person read Euronews? No. Um, but the entire environment has been very supportive in terms of the social media environment. Margrethe Vestager has started an initiative called Rebuild. We're all meeting in Copenhagen in a month from now, less than a month from now. The attempt is to bring as many founders of social media platforms, which goes from anything from marketplaces to microblogging platforms, to see what we can learn from each other. Um, but the ultimate thing that I've learned really is just this, that you need to create a great consumer platform. Um, I want to say I'm a huge fan of Anna Zeider, who's starting W, because perhaps I'm biased, but we see the world in a very similar way, and
Hmm.
we see that we need to win. We need to win market share in order for this thing to work. But I really love what she's trying to do, which is to build a Twitter alternative out of Europe, um, where you can trust who else is on the platform, which is very much aligned with what we're trying to do, even though we're building a platform that's closer to Instagram in terms of the field. But we've had the luck of, starting and falling faster. So we started a bit earlier. So we've also learned that people won't just migrate to something simply because um, the experience is better. We need to identify what experiences people need, and I think that's what we've done well. And then there was a third part to your question that I'm trying to get back to, which
No, you,
was
you you answered it well. I have another question in my head, and that is, okay, when you're talking about getting to the consumers or your users, so how big is the platform now, and how was the growth, and what are your plans? Well, it's what, February 26th, so till the end of the year, and the optimistic version as well, the not so optimistic version. So how is it going?
right. Yes, I mean it actually goes back to that third part of your question before, which is you ask, is the platform just for Europeans? And the thing is, you cannot build a platform just for Europeans
Hmm?
because that's not how our personal networks work. We all have friends or family in the United States or in Canada or in Australia or in South Africa or in Lebanon that we want to connect with. So gatekeeping the network is not something that we're planning. So to answer the question now, we are in early February. We're the 10th of February as of this recording, and we've just surpassed 50,000 registration on the platform,
Hmm.
which is incredible.
You
We're
launched in November, when I remember it correctly.
Yeah, we launched in mid to late October. So we
Okay,
launched
okay, okay.
Android on the 15th of October and iOS a few days later. We obviously launched, as you know, an unstable and buggy version of our app. So we launched an open alpha.
Even Microsoft Windows is buggy and unstable, so
It was very
don't be
important.
too hard on yourself.
It was very important for us to learn from that experience, and we've learned so much. I mean, we ended up re-engineering the entire app to make sure that we prepare for scale. We saw the priorities of people in mostly being interested in sharing live moments on this app. So now we are redirecting all of our effort to supporting um, daily live sharing, and we're really focused on ensuring that we become the go-to place for people to share daily life moments. And I think in that respect, in terms of also answering the question about consumer um, fit. The most successful social media platform out of Europe of the last few years has not been any platform that ever claimed European sovereignty as a goal. It was Be Real, right? Be Real was by far the most successful European social media startup. I think part of the reason why Be Real didn't work is because um, I think the product was very sticky, but it didn't actually solve the problem that it wanted to solve. But it
Which
was
is which is the problem that it wanted to solve but didn't solve it.
they wanted to be the anti-Instagram. They wanted people not to have to perform in in sharing. They thought that people only share the most the polished version of themselves on the Instagram feed. However, I think that um, their solution did not necessarily solve that because if you're prompted to post once a day, a very specific type of post, then you end up wanting to prepare and be ready for that and wanting to perform as well in that. But we learn from all of that, and I think the product vision is correct now for us, or at least aligned with what we're trying to
No,
solve.
after half a year, 50,000 people, that's huge. No, I'm not an expert, but I think when the other platforms from US were starting, they were not much bigger in the beginning, no?
Yeah, I mean, we're very happy with people's embrace of that. Obviously, there is churn, especially in the later cohorts. But I can't wait to show you what the beta version will look like by spring, and to show you the full version of what we hope to offer by summertime. I think we've really nailed it down. And for us, the big question will be our ability to raise capital. Unfortunately, for me, I'm very value driven and very um, convinced of what we're doing, but I'm not as aggressive in raising capital. And I'm also very cautious about where capital comes from. Like from the one
Mhm.
side, we need money to be able to sustain operations. We need money to be able to feed the people that work on this project. We need money to be able to pay for all this incredibly expensive infrastructure that we have gotten so used to being for free because American big tech companies really see us as users and they offer us a drug, and we have all gotten hooked to that drug. But it's a very expensive drug. It's like I don't know if we're allowed to name drugs in this recording or podcast, but
Go with the flow.
imagine a drug dealer uh, going about the streets and being like, "Hey guys, hey kids, want to try these drugs? Don't worry, it's free." And they've been giving them to us for free. All that dopamine that this drug has been giving us for free every day, and they get paid very well because we take that drug, and that drug gets us so addicted that we can't look away. We can't look away, and we're just sitting there in our little chairs in our beds wherever we are, watching their advertising. But let's not mistake it. They've been giving us a drug. They've been giving us a drug. They've been drugging us, opening our eyes, and guaranteeing our eyeballs are giving attention to whatever they want us to give our attention to.
Huh?
It is absolutely criminal. It is criminal that this has been a so-called business model, and that's what we're trying to change. And I really, really hope that some Europeans will want to put money behind us because it's absolutely criminal that social media have been.
No, it is and it isn't. This is how capitalism worked from the get-go. No, they, at least a half a century or a century since days of what was the nephew of Freud? His name I forget always, but
Oh, Edward Bernays.
yeah. So it's when I'm from post-communist country, so I remember from my childhood the propaganda of communism. Yeah, and when you look at the propaganda of capitalism and of communism and you compare it and use Freud as a basis, then communists were focusing on the superego, lofty ideals, and the capitalists are focusing on the id. When you know it from Freud, there is superego, ego, and id. So the animal urges, yeah, and obviously it's working. Dopamine is great. So this is something you should be aware of, that when you have too lofty ideals, most people will not follow, because dopamine is, and the id is in every one of us. Some can resist it better than the others, but in the end, when we have a shitty day, it rules.
Yeah, of course. But I think I think there's a lot to be said about our economic systems, and I think there is a huge difference, a huge difference between um, uh, you know capitalism and this insane late stage capitalism that we find ourselves in today. Because I think and I see the benefits, the massive benefits were um, that were sustained and grew out of Europe by being able to both leverage capitalism and protecting social democracies and building our social welfare state, right? So there's this incredible um, model that I think many countries in Europe can be proud of being able to exist in the global market and also being able to provide their citizens um, a high quality of life and a high quality of education and a high quality of healthcare and many other things. The problem that I see today is that this extreme late stage capitalism has essentially created or brought back, whatever you want to call it, um, uh, feudalism, and that is what is being described as techno feudalism. Essentially, these oligarchs that
Yeah, I know Janusz Varoufakis well. And you
yeah.
obviously too.
Yeah. So yeah, of course. I mean, and I think Yanis popularized the term, and I think I've learned a lot from him. Um, I I don't claim to be an expert, but from what I understand, now is now is now is let me put it that way. Now is the winter of our discontent. Dot. There is no continuation to that quote
Mm,
from Richard III on this statement.
mm. No,
Benton.
but it's on in my eyes, it's only natural. This I'm not so surprised, to be honest. When I look back, then it was more polished, but it was more polished because that's another thing that the communists messed up. The capitalists embraced psychology and human nature and the real id, not who we really are, but how they can shape us, yeah, and they shape us from the cradle, literally. The arts, when you look at the amount of arts that we are perceiving nowadays compared with 100 years ago, it grew like, that's the dopamine you are saying. Now it grew like 36,000%. So in a day, we see as many ads as we used to see in a year 100 years ago. So we are just brainwashed by, well, this thing, and people are so unaware that they are actually fighting for their oppressor. So they want to be oppressed.
Yeah, it really depends. I think I think people are aware and they make informed choices, and at the end of the day,
No,
uh,
they are not. That's the whole point. They don't do. They don't make informed choices. Or better to say, the information is so skewed that it's not information at all. That's what the id is about. At the end of
yeah,
the day, the urges are not really an information. Like sex
yeah,
drive is nice, and I don't know what you want to wear and feel and how you want to feel, but feelings are not information. It's just facts are information, and this is not facts based society. This is emotions based society that they created.
what I'm trying to convey is that we still have an opportunity to make informed decisions. Maybe phrasing it like that is more accurate to what I'm attempting to convey. We still know where the facts are at the moment, and we can make
Some of
informed.
us do, but
Yeah,
most people don't, no?
Unfortunately, I can't disagree. What I'm trying to say is the information, the facts as you describe, are out there, right?
Mm,
We know the facts. It's not like they have disappeared. We each, thank thankfully, have books, I hope, still in our homes with facts,
mm.
uh,
Yeah, but
knowledge.
not each. No, it's a small portion. It's a sliver of society who
But
lives in reality.
what I'm trying to say is that what's really, really scary is that 5 to 10 years from now, facts will just be grok, right? We already see even the European Commission, which I thought was the stupidest thing ever. I think it was one of the European institutions, if it was not a commission, that said, Grok, can you fact check this? No, 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 no. Do not. I get that it's cool to go with a trend and be like, oh, you see, even Grok says you're not right, Elon. But no, no, this is what I'm really scared about. This is what I was saying as a candidate at the European Parliament in 2024. I was saying this. My biggest fear is that these large language models uh, become such a huge dependency for us that we just go like, "Hey, Grok, tell me, is this true? Tell me, Grok, tell me what I should think because I don't even have time to think, Grok."
Mm,
Uh, and that becomes scary because there we enter a period where we really don't have the possibility to get facts anymore. It's whether the facts are whatever Grok says because Grok is God, and Grok gives us the information. There is nothing but Grok or
mm.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but that's based on critical thinking and on the question mark in your head that you don't take it for granted what Grok or whatever LLM is saying to you. That's, yeah, they are A, hallucinating a lot, and B, be aware that they have not your best interest in mind. Yeah, and who's
Yeah.
behind them.
I could never imagine a world without buses, right? I know that if I walk down the street, I'm able to get a bus and go from one place to another because I grew up in a city that had buses. So in the same way, if kids today are growing up with Microsoft Teams as a way to communicate and put their homework, and with Grok or whatever AI is put into their Microsoft computers, they will not be able to imagine a world without it. And that's my biggest fear. I mean, how
Mm,
dependent we become on these technologies to think there's a difference. And this is my big, uh, this is where I really have uh, contrasting opinions with many people. I also believe that technology is great. Technological advancements are great. I mean, I would rather be able to heat my home than not be able to heat my home. I'm glad that we have electricity. But all of these technologies uh, you know, support our physical environment. But if the majority of us rely on technologies to think and take decisions, that is no longer a physical layer.
mm.
That is no longer physical technology, and that is that is incredibly scary. But who knows?
Yes.
Maybe 20 years from now, people like us will have been called paranoid, and not just by propaganda, but just so you remember when these people were scared of AI, what would we do without Grok?
No.
Bless God.
I
Bless God.
wouldn't say that I'm scared, but I'm cautious. No, it's not really fear that I'm and that's what I'm telling to everyone. People should be cautious. People shouldn't be too, too, how to say, too trusty or trustful or what. It's like I don't believe. I mean, this is the what I was learned in school. The truth, it's not like given. It's like a puzzle that you have to piece together. And when it's too easy, then it's not probably true. No? When it's not messy, because the world is messy. And when you kind of lose that consciousness that out of this mess and out of these contradictions comes the truth, because there is not only one way how to see world, but there are 8.2 billion ways how to see world. And something gets lost, no? And then it's not true, no? Then it's just manipulation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, anyways, what I wanted to discuss with you, because we were talking a few months back, is the idea that you conveyed back then, and I don't know whether it's still alive, about the financing, that you actually want Monet to become a publicly owned company, sort of, and that it should be a cooperative. And I because something I totally embrace in my life and in what I do. And not only me, luckily, but there are 5 million people in European Union who work in cooperatives. So it's obviously not only me and you who think about this. So what is the plan? Because in such a scenario, maybe you have tried it already and it's not that easy as I imagine. In such a scenario, when people are owners of that platform, they have skin in the game as well as, vision and mission. And this is me now because I partially own it. So how is it looking?
Exactly. This is something that we want to do. I think we had discussed it. The reason why we didn't do it from the very beginning is because we needed to try and test, like, are we actually even able to do this? Are we able to build it? Are we able to build a brand? I think in the United States, in North America, in Canada, they have a bigger culture of participating in crowdfunding and pulling together resources and building things together um, to share a company together. But in this next round, I'm fully committed to actually having a tranche open so that more people can begin to own parts of Monet together.
Mhm.
The process of doing it is
Sorry to jump in for me to understand. So it's not like everyone who will be using it will be partial owner, that you will be paying monthly fee, and this
it
monthly
depends.
fee is for sustaining the platform, but as well it's like a ownership contribution. Because when I was discussing, I mean, the biggest cooperative in Europe and in the world actually is Mondragon. So we had an interview with them some time back. And this is how they are doing it. You can work at Mondragon, but you have to get 16,000 euros it was, but you don't have to have the money. They can borrow it to you, but you will kind of pay it back, as you work and depends, no? So
I
isn't
don't know
that the
about that.
idea?
I haven't looked at these type of structures yet. Uh, at the moment, we're really focused on building the product and ensuring that we can scale it and have the ability to finance it. That is also interesting. I think it's very difficult to imagine this at scale that everyone would want to pay more than simply the the cost of contribution.
Now
Um,
that depends because you can be paying it for a couple of years. So, when you pay €5 monthly, it's €60. In 10 years, it's €600. So it's money. And when you have 1 million users, then do the math. I don't know. I'm just asking because I thought that this is the way how you want to structure it. That's why I'm asking so that you can explain how exactly do you want to do it. Because from what I understood last time, and obviously, maybe I was mistaken, this is what you had in mind.
at the moment, I have in mind allowing uh, as many people as they want to be able to participate in the next round of fundraising to become co-owners of this platform. There are
Okay, okay.
many legal structures that I'm currently excited for. The main one being EU Inc. So I hope that that happens and we become a European company, and then we'll see. I would very much love to have as many people as possible own Monet, but I also know that the risk is higher the earlier that someone is attached, and we're not going to reinvent the entire process of the market before actually being able to deliver a functioning and well-used platform. Because obviously the cost of operation right now is much higher than the current people uh, uh, that could potentially contribute. I mean, right now this year will cost us more than 400,000 euro, and I don't think that our current community
Mhm.
uh, would be willing to sustain that. Maybe I'm wrong, but
No, well, not the community, but it will be growing. This is. I might be mistaken, but this is how I approach it because this is the strategy that we have in our. No, we spoke about it with the unions that the engagement from people who are inside the union can be expected to be higher than some random dude from wherever because it's their identity. Yeah, I am member of a union. They are aware that they are member of the union. So, seen from that perspective, maybe I'm naive, I don't know. I expect them, that's the approach, that they will be willing to do something because that's their identity and sacrifice something. Not much, yeah, but something. So that's the way how we are trying to kind of sell it to unions, the media idea that we have, that if they become members of that thing, then they will be kind of, this is our media platform, and it should be union based primarily because, well, it's 5 million people only in Uni Europa in Europe. So only when 1% of those embrace the idea, that's 50,000 users. And well, that's 50,000 people who have skin in the game. And also when you have skin in the game, then you will be talking about it with your mother and brother and cousin and whatnot. And so it might grow, no? But that's me. I don't know. I didn't. I'm not saying that I did solve the financing issues of this world. Maybe I'm mega naive, but I just hope that people want to belong. Yeah.
I mean, yes, people absolutely want to belong.
No, and also pay something for it, no? Because this is something we didn't explicitly say when you were talking about the dopamine, and you did mention the data last time we spoke, and tell the audience how much are we so-called paying by watching the stream of Facebook or whatnot in a year, and how much are the ads worth that we are kind of buying with our attention from well, Meta or from Alphabet or TikTok or whatever is behind it. So you had the data, so please, share it with unconscious masses. How much money are they actually gonna contributing and for free and willingly to these behemoths of capitalism?
Billions and billions, right?
Now, yeah, per capita, that's the interesting thing, that people think that it's free, but no, actually you are paying for it with your attention. And the data I've seen is 25 euros for Meta for Facebook a year. But maybe it was a month. I don't know. I mean, you were giving me the data last time we spoke, so that's why I thought that you have it in
How
your
much?
head.
You mean how much then these
The
companies?
the the ads are worth something, yeah. And if people were not watching the ads, then Meta wouldn't have the ad revenue. So the ad revenue is actually based on the attention. And when the average user is 1 hour or whatever it is on that platform, then he or she consumes, I don't know
Yeah,
how many ads. And so actually this is how the money gets generated. So you are worth as a person, as a Christos or Michael or whoever, some sum of money in a month, in a year for that particular company. You generated it for them. Yeah. So you are paying it with your attention, basically.
off the top of my head, I remember that in 2024, Instagram made $250 per US consumer.
There you go. Huh? So this is something that people should be aware that there is the way of paying it like this, that you get willingly brainwashed. Yeah, 250 euros of brainwash is going down your retina and into your brain, or you pay something. Probably you won't be needing 250 euros from everyone who will be using money to sustain it and not be brainwashed by whatever ad company wants to brainwash you. No, as I was saying a few minutes back, now we are literally consuming 6 to 12,000 ads a day. A
Yeah,
day. It's like,
that becomes also the bigger problem, right? The average consumer in Europe spends between 10 and 30,000 euros more, uh, every
on
decade
bullshit, no? Yeah.
through ads that they've seen through social media,
No,
right?
no,
Not
that's
directly. It doesn't mean you click on there, but it's like you've seen something so many times that it will end up costing you more.
no.
Yeah,
The when you look at the amount of ads that are run in the world, it's roughly 2 billions yearly, and the amount of additional uh, buying power, how to put it, or the revenue that is generated, it's roughly 1 to 10. So for 2 billion ads, they generate roughly 20, not billion, trillion of ads, 2 trillion of ads, and they generated roughly 20 trillion of revenue. So that's what's happening with us. That's why why these companies were set up the way they were set up, because we are hooked on the ads. As I said, it grew 36,000% in the last century, and that's why we have, in my opinion, the biggest ecological problems in the history of mankind, because roughly half of the revenue or half of the time that we are working for bullshit. Yeah, we have working bullshit jobs, so we can buy shit we don't need, so that the machine keeps rolling. Yeah, 20 trillion a year. It's needlessly spent on, well, sneakers or I don't know what. Yeah.
Worse, I mean, on sneakers that no longer last anymore because
No,
they're
no, this is it, and that's what I'm trying to do with what I'm doing to break this pattern, because it's unsustainable ecologically. It doesn't make any sense physically and mentally, because we are not happier than we were 100 years ago. Actually, we are more unhappy because we are constantly not having enough because of 6,000 to 12,000 ads a day that are pumped into our heads. We are constantly missing something. So as a life happiness goes, when you are losing all the time, then you will not be a winner. So and I guess that this is something that you are trying to achieve with Monet, that there will be no ads, that the people will be owners of that platform.
it depends on people at the end of the day, though.
No, to share, yeah,
We have to
but
sustain.
this is the idea right now.
Yeah, the idea
Uh,
right now is to have a maximum amount of people be members so that we never have to sort ads. But obviously, in order to say pay so that you don't ever have ads, you need to have some ads. So we're trying to figure out how that's going to work.
mm,
The only type of advertising we could imagine is contextual advertising. So you cannot advertise by targeting people. We don't collect user data, but you can advertise, say, by saying you advertise on the word football. And so hashtag football gets an advertising.
mhm.
So it's the actual hashtag that has the ad, not the thing. So contextual advertising.
Okay, a few months back, I've seen that you want to launch the paid platform. That we were actually you were asking the question, how much should people be paying? So this was dropped, because I actually thought that it's gonna come, that I will be
Yeah,
paying 2 euros a month or whatever
yeah,
to use
exactly.
Monet.
That's what I'm saying. That's the main focus. It's just that obviously, in order to be able to pay 2.99 a month, to be able to not have ads, you need to have some ads. So at the start, we will start with ads that are from Monet promoting membership. So it's
Okay, yeah, but obviously, but inside the bubble of Monet, you will not have ads. Outside of the bubble, you will, because when 50,000 people pay 2 euros or 3 euros or whatever a month, or even 10,000, yeah. I mean,
gonna
this is this this is what I would do. Yeah, but I will tell them, when you are on the other platforms, you are paying as well with your attention, and you are worth 250 euros. Yeah, so here you will be paying 25 euros a year. I mean, as bargains go.
it goes back to what you were saying about how people make decisions and why. And yes, indeed, we really have to see how many people are willing to pay. 50,000 registrations does not mean 50,000 people get to stay on the platform.
No, that's
When we get to 1 million people, it doesn't mean 1 million subscribers. If we have 1 million people registered and we have 50,000 people uh, that have signed up for membership, that would be already a huge win for us.
mm,
But it all depends on whether people stick around and whether people are willing to pay. And of course, when we say 2.99, which is effectively, 3
cup
euro,
of coffee. No?
but yeah, but how much do we make? So from that, immediately you need to reduce 30% for Apple or for Google because it's not a European system. It's so they take a huge cut. I mean, people always
Ah, I thought that you are EU based, that you are based in Germany, that the IT is in Germany. So you went to, okay. So I update my software, because last time we spoke, I thought that you are paying some licenses or what to those Americans. Okay.
we're hosted in Europe, but the apps, right? The apps are available to get on your phones, which are both American
Uh-huh.
technologies. So Apple and Google, Android or Apple, right? They take a huge cut. That's
Uh-huh.
30%. And all the payments, what are you going to pay with? You're going to pay with your Visa or your MasterCard. There's more fees there.
Uh-huh.
Then you have to pay for software that allows you to put up these subscriptions. So essentially, we're hoping to make about €1 a month, as a revenue per person. And from that,
Say it to the users, so they should be aware. I mean, I wasn't aware. Now you have to say this explicitly that what it actually entails. Yeah.
we need to pay uh, servers and infrastructure, and we need to pay salaries, and we need to pay offices, and only at scale can we.
No, yeah, no, that's um question now because something that I've read that they want to go and create something Visa like in European Union or Mastercard or whatever.
Have
Did you?
options. We have Bancomat, for example, but
No, I don't know how it was called, but finally, I mean, Trump is terrible, but he's also good. That finally they are waking up that this is not great. Yeah, that we have everything. Most of our infrastructure is US based. No, so they are hopefully doing something about it, and you will not have be paying Visa and Mastercard in 1 or 2 or 3 years or wherever.
I mean, there's Bancomat, there is now the direct payments, instant payments across the EU. There are many ways that Europeans can pay with each other. There's also the EU wallet coming, supposedly.
Mhm.
I don't know how I feel about all these centralized options, but yeah.
It is something, I mean, it's bless you. It's
Thank you.
it's 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 better than what was the case 5 years ago when we were naively believing in butterflies and roses and peace. No, now we have woken up. Okay, so I know that you have a hard stop in few seconds, so let's wrap it up. So thank you very much, Christos. I would love to continue with this conversation in a couple of months. So how are you doing? How is it going? And so on, because the ambition is totally something that Europeans should support, not only because of what's going on in America, but kind of it's our continent, so we should build our shit here. Yeah, that's just totally and not kind of import it from wherever when we can do it. It's also kind of like a maturity test that whether we can build it on our own or whether we will rely on Big Brother to send it to us and we take it. So totally kudos to you and your whole team and hugs and kisses.
Thank you so much, and I will give the good words to the rest of the team.
Thank
And
you,
thank
man. Thank you. Break a leg.